Welcome to this episode of Keep the Hotel Empty. I'm your host, Eric Paul. In studio today, we are grateful to welcome in longtime musician and promoter who is currently with the engaging Reggae Rise Up Music Festival, Paul D. King. In this episode, Paul discusses how church and hockey gave way to music, what it takes to run a 4-day music festival, and all of the things he has been shown and taught in between. Please enjoy. Welcome to Keep the Hotel Empty. Tonight we kept the hotel empty to welcome in our friend Paul King, lifelong musician, music promoter, and just all-around fantastic individual. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Eric, thanks for having me.
How you doing, man?
Fantastic, man. How's it going?
Good. So I know you are a guy with a lot of stories and a lot of good stories, but I want to kind of start at where the music story starts. Take me back to where you were, your age, what the scene is. Paint me the picture a little bit where music gets into your life so deeply.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, as you know, music's been a huge part of my life, pretty much since I can remember. The earliest days go back, my parents brought us up in church. So, my mother played keyboard in church. My dad played bass and drums and guitar. I mean, pretty much everything. My grandfather, he's a singer. He's done a lot of singing over my entire life. So I was always brought up around music. Then,
and where were you then?
In New York. We moved, I was 10 when we moved to Florida. It was 1995. Rangers just won the cup. I remember like it was yesterday. And that's really where the school and church that my family, we all went to, was in Brandon. It's like an hour north of Sarasota. And the pastor's kids were really big in like the Christian punk rock scene. So that's when we started drawing on our Converse checkers and little Jesus fishes, and some bands you might know, Under Oath, used to play at our church back when they were like a 3-piece death metal band.
That's crazy.
And then Amber Lynn was a big one. They were called Saga 24/7. And dude, they were a killer band.
And they came out of this area too?
Yeah, they're from Winter Haven.
Yeah.
But yeah, they all used to play in my church on the weekends. They were throwing punk rock shows there. I think I was probably like, I want to say probably like 7th, 8th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th grade was that time. And that's really when music like started to grab a hold of me, and like, I was really into like punk rock music at a young age. I think Bush, Razor Blade Suitcase was like one of the first CDs I ever owned.
Nice.
Butthole Surfers was one of my first CDs I ever had.
That's two good ones right there.
That's when like I really started getting my taste. And then of course, in high school, me and my friends were skipping school and going surfing, and I think 40 Ounces of Freedom was like our go-to surf sesh album every time. So I was, grew up punk rock, had a nice mohawk going through middle school. It's probably not as big as Julian's, but
But your focus at that time, you were also involved in sports, right? And your family your dad played hockey too, right?
Yeah. I kind of fell out of the sports when I was like probably middle school and early high school. We went to private school, so I played soccer and basketball and baseball and volleyball, and I was pretty much garbage at all of them except for soccer and hockey. When we moved to Florida, it was like 1995. The Lightning's first year was 93, but there was no hockey scene at all.
Right.
Like when we got here, there was nothing. And I wanted to be a hockey player when I was a kid.
Right.
So
music had to be a pretty profound thing when it hit you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was playing guitar, playing bass. Me and my friends had a little punk rock band in high school. No Clue, we called it. And then we had another little group we used to mess around with, the Real Cool Cats.
So how does that start? When you're skipping school and listening to Sublime, going surfing, when does that turn into I'm going to pick up a guitar?
I kind of always did. Me and my buddy Tyler, he was my best friend. We just started jamming. My buddy Mark, we were just started jamming together. I mean, that was early. That was middle school. End of middle school, early high school days for me. So I always played. I never thought that I would be doing it professionally for any amount of time.
Right.
And then I didn't even start the band until probably 2013, I think.
Yeah, so there's definite road in between there.
Yeah. So
when you're in high school and you just start jamming, where does that road go?
Pretty much nowhere. It was just garage jams and kind of figuring out who we are, and I guess I always stayed the same throughout that period of my time. I was always kind of a punk rocker kid, surfer, skater. But yeah, the music I didn't really have a lot going on musically until I was a little older. I went through some trials and tribulations, I guess we'll call them.
Yeah. So what was the bump in the road in between?
Drugs.
Yeah. And you spent some time in the military, yeah?
Yeah. Did a couple years in the Army. I wasn't really. I don't really consider myself a soldier. Being in the Army is tough. You have no privacy. Your individualism is gone. And I feel like a very individual kind of person. So that was tough, but that teaches you things like discipline and, teamwork and, character, things about your character that you don't normally learn, especially at a younger age.
Do you think that coming up in the church environment and playing sports and things like that helped you be able to do those things?
Musically?
Like go through the military and deal with those types of bumps, or do you think that?
Definitely. The military was more like I didn't know what I was doing. I had I didn't really ever plan to go to college. I didn't really plan much at all during high school. So the military was kind of a mix between I had nothing else to do and keep my family happy,
And still be an environment where this teamwork makes the dream work thing is part of it.
But yeah, I guess that all kind of goes hand in hand,
Yeah.
But
so you're starting to learn that, now you're out of the military, now you're starting to shape what becomes a rock and roll life. This is sort of the time where you start to have bands around here, yeah?
Yeah, so I got out of the Army. I moved to Colorado for a little bit with a buddy, and this was probably 2008 or 2009. So the green was just becoming, legal out there. So I got to kind of be involved with that scene and see how that goes. They had a couple grow houses, and it was pretty early where you had to have a prescription for everything, and so I got to kind of see that firsthand for a while. Spent probably about 6 or 8 months out there, and came back, and then I had to. So I grew up in Tampa. And I had gotten in some trouble in Sarasota. So I was actually in Colorado when I found out about the warrant they had for me in Sarasota. I had no clue. They ended up, the cop couldn't even say that Sarasota. He didn't even know what it was. He was like, "You have a warrant here?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "No, I don't." They brought me to jail. Slept. They actually gave me a cheeseburger lunch. It was actually a pretty good meal. Jail out there. They ended up letting me go because Florida wasn't going to extradite me back for it was 2 third-degree felonies, which I ended up getting taken off my record. But so yeah, they let me go. I came back to Florida. And then I ended up getting in trouble in Florida, so I did.
As lots of people do.
I did a month in Tampa, and then they brought me to Sarasota. I'd never lived here before. I didn't even know anybody here. I came with just the clothes on my back. And did a couple months while they figured out what they wanted to do with me, and then they ended up putting me into a drug court. And then from there, I moved into a halfway house, and then I got my own apartment not long after that, and
So at this point, you got to put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
Exactly.
So how does music be a part of that?
I started, getting gear. I got a guitar and an amp and pedals and stuff. And then I met a buddy. His name's Max at Starbucks, and we just started jamming, the two of us. And then we agreed that, this would be a lot more fun if we added a couple more people, We got some drums, maybe some bass. And that's when I met John. John was one of the first members of Summer Survivors.
Nice.
He was playing bass. And then we had a couple, Summer Survivors was always kind of
Big family.
Yeah.
Rotating cast.
A rotating cast. So we had a lot of band members over the years.
So what's the first Summer Survivors? When's the first Summer Survivors rehearsal? Can you remember the first time you waved that flag and we were like, we're doing this, we're getting ready for a Summer Survivors show?
Man, it was a funny story. I was actually squatting in a foreclosed house right across from your neighborhood because I had a buddy who was like helping people out. I was broke. I had nowhere to,
Right.
And we ended up finding this foreclosed house off Lockwood Ridge. I squatted in this house for like almost 3 years.
That is some kind of record, I think.
Yeah, I had a lease and everything, man. It was awesome. But that's where we built a stage in the living room, and I was like, I think I was working at like Outback Steakhouse or something, and I was a pretty good service industry employee, but I have my days too. So I ended up, this table stiffed me, and I was like super nice to him. So I did the thing you're never supposed to do, where you walk outside and tell him thank you for the tip.
Oh.
So I ended up getting fired, and
imagine that.
I had just started the band, so I was like, screw it. I guess we're doing this full time now. I was like, full go. So we full sent it, and it was. I think I ended up making our Facebook page on April 20th, 2013 was the day that I made the Facebook page. And then we did our first show. Our practices, it was like we used to practice, all nonstop. I met Ted those days too, met Ted off of Craigslist. So when he started coming around, we used to just jam.
How important was it to have the latitude in your life to be able to play that much to get it off the ground?
It probably wouldn't have happened without that. That and living in a foreclosed house.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That was the huge catalyst for it, because I didn't have to pay any bills, and then I lost my job and just put it all into it, and art
becomes the life raft.
Yeah. I had already started going to school. It was kind of interesting how it happened, because when I was in Sarasota, I had to go through the drug court thing, which I ended up graduating early and getting out of that done. And so it's like, what next now? So then I started looking at schools.
Right.
My brother's a graphic designer, so he sent me information on Ringling, and I was like, wow, this school looks awesome. It's really, really, really expensive.
Right.
I was like, there's no way I can afford to go here. So I ended up finding SETI, which is, they changed the name now. I can't remember what they call it now, but it's over on Proctor and Beneva area. Mm-hmm. They had a graphic design program. So I started doing that, and they just teach you just the programs. So you're just learning Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. Not really a lot of, practices and basics of graphic design, just programs.
And you didn't have any experience doing that beforehand? This was just something you took up because it was the point in your life where it's like, we got to do something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I did the Army thing. I did, so I started doing that, and I say I didn't know that I was creative, but I feel like for a lot of like my late teens and early 20s, I really didn't even know that I was creative. Like, I was just, going through the motions, and then I started doing graphic design, and I was like, holy crap, like this is actually, and the band, they all kind of started happening at the same time. So I was just like living in this world of creativity, and it was.
What did that feel like?
I loved it. It's because I did everything: construction, air conditioning, sell cars. I've literally served tables, bartend. You name it. I've done literally every job, and I never ever had any satisfaction really out of any of them. And then I started doing graphic design and started playing music, and it was like everything was starting to make sense.
Yeah.
I remember we played, you asked about the first practice we had. I don't necessarily remember that, but the first show we ever played was, I think it was like August 16th. And we had, just started the Facebook page in April. I'd say we had started the band a little earlier that year. But it was like August 16th. Was our first show. We played in the house. We had like a stage in the living room. we got a keg of beer. We had about 60 people there. And that was the moment when I knew like being on stage and playing music and was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Like, was a huge passion for me. And it was that moment. It was like an aha moment or a come to Jesus moment where you're just like, wow, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Had you had that feeling from hockey or any of the stuff that you were passionate about before that, or was this was a new thing?
That was a new thing. I mean, hockey was always like, as far as I can remember back, I wanted to play hockey.
Right.
But then I moved to Florida, and there's no hockey.
Yeah, right.
That's not happening anymore. We used to play some good roller street hockey back in the day, though. That was fun. I was getting all the kids in the neighborhood into it.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun.
Importing.
Yep.
So you're starting to do everything all at once, and this creative bubble is starting to be a real thing.
Yeah.
So when does both of these things become professional? How do you parlay this newfound thing into profession? Not squatting anymore.
Well, I started working in the print shop, which was cool, because then I started learning the print industry, and being in a band and designing and printing, it's all it goes hand in hand. So I was working at the print shop, just finishing up school, and man, I worked in that print shop for like 5 years. It was probably one of the longest jobs I've ever held. The band really started, that whole time we just stayed busy. I wanted to play shows. Like, we were playing with all the bands at Florida, like with all our friends. Like, we were just having a great time and jamming, and we were getting pretty good there for a while. There's like me, Ted, TJ, and John. Like, that era, I think we had a real good shot at it for a while. But
yeah, and that was the lineup you did the first record with.
Yep.
Right? Yep.
Yep. That was interesting times, huh?
Yeah. So the graphic design and the band thing kind of parlays us into a little bit to where you're at right now, but I wanna take a little bit of the road there. What were your experiences getting to the point where Summer Survivors is more well known? You got on better stages. Some of the things you've learned that help bands that are literally coming out of a squat get to a stage, because you've got mad expertise in that area, and I'm wondering which of all the things you've been through stick out.
Well, what really got all of our opportunities was when I joined the street team for Reggae Rise Up. That was like where everything started for that. They were doing like a artist discovery contest. I think it was 2014.
This was the first year of Reggae Rise Up?
Yeah. Okay. It was at Raymond James Stadium, and they did like a local discovery contest. So we entered that, and then I saw that they were looking for street teamers. So they were having like a street team meeting. It was in Tampa. So I drove from Sarasota up to Tampa. I ended up meeting Addison and Vaughn, my boss, that night. I honestly didn't even like Addison for like the first 5 years we were buddies.
Shout out Addison.
Hi Addison, I love you. So that we killed it on the street team. We had a party, because people had to like go on and like. So we did a party at the warehouse, made a bunch of bands, and we got some kegs of beer, and the admission to the show was you had to come in and like us in the contest. And then we did a car wash out front of the print shop, and we'll wash your car if you go on and like us on the
because there was no brand recognition for Reggae Rise Up at that time.
No, nothing. It was brand new, and we didn't end up getting on the show. We got beat by SoFlo, who was a pretty big band from Fort Myers.
Right.
We got beat by them. The next year came, and they hit me up to be on the street team, and I was like, hell no. I was like, I don't want to do that. I was like, I literally went out there, put up all these posters with other bands' names on them. We had a car wash. I spent a lot of time trying to get us on that show. We didn't get on. And Adam, who was running the street teams at that time, he said, Paul, if you do at least the minimum of the street team requirements, which I know you can because you killed it last year, he said, we will get you on the shows. At that point, I was like, what do I really have to lose if he's saying he's going to get us on the shows? So did the street team again for the second Reggae Rise Up year, killed it again. We started like printing their posters and flyers at the print shop.
Then you were doing some of the graphics work for that too, or just
the printing? Yeah,
Okay.
I've actually never done any of the graphics for Reggae Rise Up. So just helping them with the printing. Did it again the next year. The first show we played for Reggae Rise Up, they did like a summer series. It was 5 different shows at Janus. We got on opening for the Expendables, which has been one of my favorite bands for a long time, so that was cool. Tickets were $15. I sold 100 tickets to that show for $15 each.
Nice.
I walked in, I handed Vaughn $1,500 cash. We sold more tickets to that one show as an opening band than all the opening bands combined for the next for all the shows combined, and we played every Reggae Rise Up after that. And yeah, it was to the point where like I didn't even know we were playing Reggae Rise Up. The lineup would be released, and our name would be on it. So I wake up, I'm like, wow, I have 75 text messages. Why? What is going on? Oh, Reggae Rise Up released the lineup.
What was that first show at Janus like?
It was incredible. I mean, growing up and going to that venue and seeing all your favorite bands play there, and then being able to play on it, it's just like, I mean, you've played there, you know.
Yeah.
It's got vibes.
Yeah, very much so. So how long between that first Janus show and the first Reggae Rise Up where you're on a festival stage?
So yeah, it was probably, because that was like a summer show, so we didn't play Reggae Rise Up until the next, I think it was still in March, so till the next March. But then we got on the Utah shows.
Right.
Did 2 Utahs. We probably would have gotten on Vegas, but but not everybody else knows. I took a break from Summer Survivors for a little bit. Our last show was actually at Janus. We opened for 30-0.
Nice.
That was cool. My whole family came out, so that was a special night. And I feel like we played pretty good that night too.
Well, that's always good. So you do the last Summer Survivors show. You've learned a ton along the way. You've made a huge network. What is day one like not in a band? Because the band had been kind of the center of the musical universe for quite a while for you, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So right when I decided to take a break from the band is when I told Vaughn at Reggae Rise Up that, I was going to take a break. We were actually on the next Florida lineup, and it was coming out in like 4 or 5 days. So I didn't even know that it was coming out. So he's like, so I'm taking you off. And I was like, man, yeah, take us off. I'm going to stick to my guns on this one. I'm going to take a break. But I told him, I said, I don't want that to be the end of our relationship. I had been working with him since 2014 in one capacity or the other. There was a few years there when I wasn't a street team, when I was just, being an artist. But, I was like, I don't want this to be the end just because I'm not doing the band right now. And he's like, okay, I'll let you know. And a week later, he calls me back and offers me the street team promoter representative position. So I took that. So now I run the street teams for all the festivals. We have a network of teamers who go out, put up posters, hand out flyers, go to shows, spread the word throughout the whole U.S.
How long before the show do you start doing that? Like, let's say the one in March, when do you start? What's chess move 1?
October. Usually we pretty much go from one to the next. So we had Baltimore, Vegas, and Florida this year. Florida, of course, is our flagship. It's our largest one, and we do between 15 and 20,000 people a day. So we'll start. I've kind of already started on Florida
for March of 24.
Yeah, but we'll start. I know the lineup should be coming out soon, but yeah, I mean we're working on them 6 to 8 months before.
So what's the first thing? What's the first thing you have to do when it's time to start the new cycle?
Well, so my 2 jobs right now, I run the street teams, and then I'm the signage coordinator. So what the signage coordinator does is I work with the graphic designers and the printer, and then all the departments within Reggae Rise Up to create, design, print, and then install all the signage that you see at the festival. So all the bar signs, entrance, exits, vendors, the stage scrims, all those things. So that's what I'm usually starting first now, is getting my sheets ready, because we use spreadsheets. And I mean, everybody thinks the music industry happens on the stage right there in front, but it doesn't. It happens in front of computers with a bunch of spreadsheets.
Right. That's why I'm really curious how you even get this ball rolling.
Yeah, luckily they've created a pretty good system for for the signage, the street team's a little more difficult because I feel like that's an ever-evolving thing, and it can be really difficult at times to just make sure everything's getting done. You know, luckily I have an app now that the street teamers can go and just put up the poster and take a picture in the app, and it puts it on a map and on a sheet where I can see everything. Before, they would have to put the poster up, take a picture on their phone, upload this picture to whatever drive. I was trying anything and everything just to make it easier for the teamers, because I can get people to go out and be motivated, put up posters, but taking pictures, putting those in albums, then taking those albums and filling out a final report, it was a lot of work, and it was near impossible to get everybody to do that. And then because
everyone's volunteers,
right? So the street teamers all work for tickets, passes to the festival, swag. The past few years since I've took it over, the street teamer who does the most posters, and I've been getting a foil poster signed by all the bands.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So like trying to like really like give them back for what the hard work that they're doing. And I mean, who doesn't? A lot of them do it for the love of the scene, a love of music, and they love swag. So, I was like, man, I've been in the street team for 10 years and I've never got a signed foil poster. I mean, the Vegas one last year was sick.
Yeah, how much does it help you being able to be in the position you're at now, coming from the position you were?
Yeah, it was a lateral move basically. Summer Survivors, probably as of last year, we had played Reggae Rise Up more than any other band out there. We're the only band that's ever played it twice in the same weekend. So I've known that festival. I've been to every single one, basically. So, inside and out, upside down. I've seen it from somebody standing in the crowd to a band playing on, I played Vibe stage and main stage, to someone who's working in the back of the house now. So it was easy switch pretty much.
You're right, and an invaluable perspective to have, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
So I know you've been doing this street team thing, and the promotion game has changed quite a bit because everybody is so empowered, and now there are things like, I wouldn't have even thought of that. You can have an app to manage the street team. Yep. What are some of the other big things that have changed from the very first time you would do this? And I know Gorilla back in the day were just stapling posters and handing out flyers.
Yep.
What's some of the other things now that you've been able to utilize that have just changed along the way?
Social media helps a lot. That's really changed a lot of things. The app that we got is just like, it was amazing, because as soon as I started running the street team, I was like, man, it has to be easier than this. I was like, like the communication, you're juggling so many different things, trying to just make sure that the posters are getting up. So the app changed the whole game.
Because how many people do you have on a street team, or how many people are you trying to manage the promotion of at any given point, would you say, range?
Right now for Vegas, we have 25 teamers, 25 active teamers who are out putting up.
And they're where?
All over the country, mostly Vegas. I didn't really go too far out. We're pretty much focused on like the Vegas and Utah area, California, Florida. I think that's pretty much it. Because we put out an application months ahead of time and start, people can fill it out, and then we have to go through and communicate with each person, reach out to them. So I've been using a lot of Google Sheets and like trying to learn that side of it, because like now I can have like, when you fill out the application, I can have it automatically email that person with my manual that I've created, and also create a conversation with me and my market manager, so that we're all like, it's seamless, which is really cool.
Thank you for sticking with us. We hope you're enjoying the episode. If you'd like to make a difference and take your support to the next level, please visit our Patreon and consider becoming a member. Link in the description. Everything counts in large amounts. Thank you again. Now back to the show. So you're, for lack of a better term, managing 25 people from afar.
Right, yes. And that's just one team. I had Baltimore and Florida this year. So I'd say we have probably about 75 or 80 teamers logged into that, like set up on the app right now. And that's throughout the entire United States. So we'll pretty much any big markets, like for Baltimore, we were really Baltimore's kind of a strange place, but it has a lot of big cities near it. So you can pull from Philly, DC, New York. All these places are relatively really close, not far at all. So I tried to get a lot out there in that area, like the Northeast area. I have a team here in New York City, my buddy Jeff, that's been doing and killing it there every year. So New York's been good. But yeah, there's literally, all over the country. And I feel like we're going to be announcing a new festival soon. I'm not entirely sure on that, but
well, Reggae Rise Up has grown steadily, right?
Oh, yeah, yep. The whole reggae scene has been growing a lot. We just saw Slightly Stoopid. They just did their first Live Nation tour, and they were all at amphitheaters and stadiums. And I think they're like the first band really in our scene, maybe Sublime with Rome, but that have done like a Live Nation tour.
Right.
So that was cool just to witness and see the growth in that.
Yeah, they got such a history.
Oh yeah, they're like the Grateful Dead of our scene.
Right.
They're just jamming. I saw them play with Pepper and Bargain Music at the Ritz in Ybor. I think it was probably like 2003 or 2004. Playing for 1,500, 2,000 people, however many people fit in that building. Not very many.
Right.
I've seen them at Janus a bunch of times. So to see them grow into what they're doing now, it's pretty awesome.
So having been on so many different sides of this scene and been really at the beginning of it, what you're talking about now, all the way to you've seen these bands at amphitheaters, what do you think is attributed to this growth so much and the expanded interest in reggae rock? What do you think did that?
Well, Sublime was like the first. I feel like one of the first bands in our scene. I feel like they were like they started our scene. But if you like listen to some like Police songs and stuff, like there's a lot of like reggae-ish sounding tunes that they have,
For sure.
So a lot of people don't even think about them as being this style of music. But I think it's the music. It's the positive vibes. Just like, I feel like the most popular right now, like Stick Figure's really big.
When did you see the biggest change? When did you see the biggest growth happen?
It was, since Reggae Rise Up joined the scene, I think they brought it home to us, because I had been listening to this style of music for a long time. But then when Reggae Rise Up started, they did the first year in Tampa, but then they moved to Vinoy. Once they moved to Vinoy, it was like just watching them grow, going from a one-day festival with 8 bands to Vegas this year is 3 days. There's 16 bands each day.
What do you think is important about the festivals and having all these bands together?
It's just everybody being together and vibing, It's like when we used to play Reggae Rise Up, we would usually be like in the beginning of the day, first band on either stage. So, the crowd, sometimes we had a decent crowd, but it was never more than a small 1,000 people, a couple thousand people. But then, when I get off now and I go, usually backstage, we have a scissor lift and it lifts you up so you can like see the whole crowd. And you look out and like Revolution or Slightly Stoopid's playing and you're looking out and you're seeing 17,000 people all dancing and smiling and having a good time. Like that.
Tough to beat.
Yeah. And to know that I played a role in all of those people enjoying themselves for that weekend, like that's what really got me like hooked on it. Like where I knew it was kind of like the same experience I had when I was in the band, when we played our first show, when I was standing there,
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how much of that feeling parallels? Because it's still, like you said, getting to see the show go off and people and enjoy themselves.
Yeah. I was like, man, I used to play and, we would play 30 minutes and, we'd have a small group of people, but now to know that I helped 16,000 people have a really good time and just to go up on the lift and look out and just see a sea of people vibing, that's one of the greatest feelings I've ever felt, by far. It was, but it really, when Reggae Rise Up came, 2014, so I would say probably about 2017, I think that was the first year where they did multi-day festival. That was the first year me and Bolts hung out like that weekend. that was like 2017 was like when like it was like visible to everybody, like, wow, this scene is growing.
So do you think it was more that the reggae world just got onto the festival scene that so many other genres had been baking into their growth, or do you think there was some band or the vibe of it, like you said, that more attributed to the exponential explosion? Because it went from, like you said, relatively underground 1 day, 2 days, to now you're up to 4 days, right?
Yeah.
All festivals go 4 days, right?
3 or 4, just depends. Florida did 4 this last year, but I'd say like bands like 311.
Right. I was really surprised to see them on the bill.
Yeah, that was the first time they ever played. I mean, and I've seen them. It was probably, dude, I don't know, early 2000s. I saw them sell out the amphitheater. And the whole the Tampa amphitheater was completely sold out. Like, that's like 22,000 people. So like that, they're huge. They're a big band in the scene. I think they're definitely one of like the oldest bands in our scene. So I think they get forgotten about a little bit. But I mean, they were a huge band for this.
Oh,
scene.
yeah.
And then Slightly Stoopid has been, Slightly Stoopid, Revolution, Iration, Sublime with Rome. Those are like the real stick figure.
And Sublime with Rome was at the last Reggae Rise Up in Florida too, right?
Yep. Yeah, I missed their set. Well, last year I kind of missed everybody's sets because I was dealing with weather and...
Because you got to work when you're at work sometimes.
Yeah.
Until you get to the scissor lift.
Yep.
So take me through one of those days. Like, I know Saturday and Sunday, those are the big days. Thursday and Friday is a lot of getting the bugs out and everybody getting their excitement and jitters out. Take me through a Saturday or a Sunday when, you're going to have the gates getting charged and everybody's coming.
It's usually very stressful. Usually the first day is the most stressful.
Thursday?
Yeah.
Or whatever first day
yeah,
is.
Thursday or Friday. Usually that's the craziest day.
Why is that?
Just because doors are going to open, and if your job's not done, like usually I plan in my mind that I'm not going to sleep Thursday night. If the doors open on Friday, in the past it's been I have not slept. I've stayed there all night. But before I was doing the signage, Vaughn was doing it, my boss was doing it, so he created a good system, but he was dealing with all of it, and then he didn't just say, here, you're going to be the signage coordinator now. They gave me a year of just doing it. They didn't tell me they had plans for me to take over all the signage. So I had to learn, but also not just learn, but build a process, because I don't want to work throughout the whole festival. I don't want to be the guy running around crazy with a chicken with his head cut off,
Because at some point it's going to happen.
Yeah. I'm like, it has to be easier. So I'm developing new things. Like now we're numbering all the banners. In the past, we were just like zip tying them to the frames. Now we're putting pockets on the top. So I'm like sliding the beam through, connecting it. So it's like one beam and it has a beam all the way through it for support, and then I'm just bungeeing it.
And that came from the experience of
being at the fair.
There you go.
I saw the guys at the fair. I'm like, dude, those banners look good. What are they? Pole pocket on top, bungees on the bottom. Because we're using like 7 to 10 zip ties for every banner, and then zip tying it to the tents. So, if, in Florida especially, there's thousands of zip ties that plastic waste. I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this.
Right.
So now we're numbering them, and I'm building a team to hopefully I can use the same group of people, everyone, to come and help me, so I don't have to stand there. Like we use a lot of volunteers and we use a lot of hired help, and I just end up being the guy like pointing and telling people what to do. So to have a group of people who can assist and know, because I'm not a corner cutter. Like I know the way Vaughn wants my job to be done.
Right.
Like he's a bit of a perfectionist, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist as well. So I know what his expectations are.
Right.
So when people are like trying to say, "Oh, we're running out of time, we're gonna cut corners," I'm like, "Bro, I'll stay here all night. Like until my job's done right, I'm not leaving."
Right.
So now I'm trying to. I think I'm pretty good at delegating, but also creating a process, not just for it to be simpler to do, but streamline it, so we're numbering them. Now I can just go and drop all the banners off, all the frames off, and have a team installing them right behind me. find ways to save money, save time, and
save some plastic.
Yeah, save the earth a little bit at the same time, you know.
So would you say that the first thing you go to in your thought process is there's got to be an easier way to do this? Is that where a lot of your stuff comes from?
Oh yeah, I'm very methodical with the way I do things. Like even like when I was working in the bar cutting fruit, I always cut it the same way every time, and it just becomes, you don't even have to pay attention at that point. You're just boom, 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 boom. But I'm very methodical at trying to find the best way to do something quickest and most efficiently.
What do you think are the parts of your personality, and what are the ways that you've been able to develop these type of systems and methods? Because I think that's a thing that's challenging for a lot of people.
That's a good question.
Is that something you've always innately done, or was there something along the way that taught you that, and you really got it good at putting it into practice?
Well, my mother was like very, I don't want to say ADD because that's not really the right terminology, but she was very neat. So like my friends would come over after school and they would just like move something on the table just to fuck with her.
Yeah.
She'd come home and be like, what is going on? You know? Like, so I feel like I get a little bit of that. I don't want to say OCD, but like, like
it's definitely methodical.
Yeah. When someone walks on the site and they go, wow, that looks great, Paul did that. Or like, wow, that looks like shit, Paul did that. Like, that's what I don't want,
Right.
And now that I've changed up the way we're doing them, like, because Florida, dude, the weather was bad. We had high winds, rain, and they just tore my banners into shreds. I mean, they were just flapping in the wind. There wasn't a time at that weekend where I could look out and be like, man, that all looks good.
This was the last one?
Yeah, the last Florida one. They just got battered. But now that we're just bungeeing the corners, it has some give. So if it is windy, it's kind of gives it a little bit of leeway. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a perfectionist, but I guess I'm kind of a perfectionist for some things. If someone gives me a job to do, I want it to be done to the best of my ability.
That's what I was going to say. It seems pretty obvious that you like to take pride in the things you do, regardless of if it's your squad or Reggae Rise Up. What do you think that stems from?
I don't know. I feel like I was a loser in parts of my life, and I want to be on the winning team. I don't know.
Because that's a hard thing for people to do too. Sometimes if nobody sees you do your good thing, it's hard to be motivated to do it. But if you can be proud of it, it doesn't matter if you got to be there all night.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm given a job to do, I want to be able to, when someone asks who did it, I want to be able to say that I did it without having to worry if it was done right or not, or what's messed up, and there's a lot of competition, there's a lot of people that want my job, so you have to stay true to it and just get it done no matter what.
I'm sure not even people outside of the Reggae Rise Up industry, but I'm sure there's people inside the Reggae Rise Up family who would love to do what you do too. What is that like? How many people are really behind the scenes of a 3 and 4 day festival?
I'd say,
I'm not talking tech and stage crew and all that. I'm talking festival.
I think our crew is around 100 to 150 people total. There's probably about 15 of us that meet every Wednesday and go over pretty much everything for the festival. We do that. But yeah, I mean, months and months in advance. And
those 100, 150 people are on site every day of the festival?
Yep. Most of them, yeah. Yeah, because especially Florida, Vegas is a little different, but Florida, we build and run all of our own bars. So we have all bar staff, box office, hospitality, vendors, signage.
Gate people.
Yeah, gate people, security. So we operate, we deal with all of that ourselves. So we have a pretty big squad.
And when you're outside of Florida, what's the difference? There's a subcontracted things, or the venues are different, or? The
venues are different. So we don't have any infrastructure in Florida. We build on an empty park. So there's not much power, there's not much water. Well, there's a little bit, but not much. Vegas, they have infrastructure there. It's like an event center, so their stage is already built. So we close the streets around it, and set up, but they deal with their own bar staff and stuff in Vegas. So it's just it's a smaller skeleton crew for Vegas. Baltimore, same thing. We built on an empty, it was half parking lot, half park. The first year is always the hardest.
Right.
You've never been there. It's a new, So the first year Baltimore was really hard for me personally, with signage and just everything else. It was just very difficult. But last year, it was the first year I ever had all the signs up before the doors opened. And then it was the first time where I could look at everyone and be like, man, those look good. I started using the pole pockets.
Right.
And they looked great. So I felt really good about myself, like my job in Vegas or in Baltimore. It was good.
That was the first Baltimore show?
That was the second one.
Okay.
Yep. I don't know if we're going back next year or not. I haven't heard anything about it. Attendance was a little low at those ones. But anytime you start something new somewhere,
Right.
So I'd like to. This time I was actually able to really, meet some, because I ran the street team this year for Baltimore. So, the first year we didn't do the street team, so I didn't really know many people up there. So this year, I had met friends through the street team, and so I was able to go out and see more of the town. And Baltimore has some cool stuff to offer.
So leading up to one of the shows that's outside of Florida, do you ever go physically and meet with these people? Or thanks to the technology and the protocol you guys got in place, you can do everything from afar? Pretty much everything from afar. Last year was my first year working Vegas, so I did fly out to Vegas beforehand just to do some measuring. And the Dirty Heads were playing. It was our show, so I ended up going to the show, shaking hands with the street teamers, and then I went around the site and did a bunch of measuring. And so that, and then knowing from for the first year, this is the second year, this year, so I'm able to kind of I'm trying to save them money because, the signage bill is a big bill. Right. So I'm trying to save, And you can't reuse any of that, right? Every year you got to recycle, or every year you got to start over. Yeah, because we change all the designs, some things on the site change. So we do new signs for everyone. So I feel good about this year. I was able to go through, tighten up some of the things that, tighten up some of the loose ends from last year. And now when I get there this year, I'll have them numbered and ready to go. Last year I had to unbox everything and figure out where it went. This year I pretty much know where everything's going. Not making the same mistakes twice. No. But that's how the festival life is. We take. Once we do it, then we can say, this needs to change, this needs to change, this needs to change, this needs to change. Sometimes we make those changes the next morning. If Friday, if we notice something's got to change, Saturday morning we get on site, we're making changes for the whole weekend. And so you can pivot that quick on some stuff. Some stuff, yeah. Yep. So it's all moving parts really until the last note of the last band. Yep. And then we have to tear it all down on the Monday. What's that like? It comes down way quicker than it goes up. Yeah, why is that? Why is that? That's always the case. I don't know, man. We're just clipping, they're falling over. It's like we can pack it up in one day. It takes us a week to build it. What do you take for a crew to break it down? I usually have about, Florida, I had 4 or 5 volunteers. In Baltimore, I used 2. I'm going to have 2 volunteers in Vegas. So Florida is just it's so much bigger piece of land that we're on, and there's just a lot more. I mean, it's kind of double the size of the other 2, so at least double. Right. Well, where is this? I mean, we got the most fertile ground for it, no pun intended. Yep. We got the vibe for it here. Here in Cali, man, is like the reggae capitals of America, I guess. But I mean, there's a lot of bands in our scene that are going out there, and they're really starting to grow. It's cool to watch, like Cashed Out and Bumpin' Uglies and stuff. Yeah, what do you see for the bands coming up now with what a struggle touring has become? How does the festival thing play into that? How are people making it in between? It's got to be tough. I mean, with everything as expensive as it is right now, it's got to be really tough. Do you find that a lot of the bands that are, because I know for a while there it was like a lot of bands that were doing their summer tours are the ones that would end up on the festival bills, like Reggae Rise Up, they'd be off dates or whatever. But then you got to the point where it was like all the shows they were doing were only festivals. That'd be awesome. How much of that do you see, like, the bigger bands? Is it all festival gigs mainly?
Yeah, I think it goes from doing the smaller venues like the Ritz or Janus, to doing those size clubs to festival size shows. But
because touring is just rough no matter who you are, whether or not you're Cashed Out or Revolution.
Yeah. Yep. But that's the best way to build your fan base is to go play. If you go out on the road, I've been watching Kyle Smith. He hasn't even been in the scene that long, but he's just been crushing it on the road, crushing it on social, and exploding, which is really cool to watch. Like Cashed Out played at Gator Club and Jaeger Tavern with us. How many years ago was that? 8 years ago?
I was going to say 10 years ago.
8 to 10 years ago.
Wow.
And, I paid him like $200 on a bar tab. And, but they also put out really good music too. So I think it's a mixture of putting out good tunes. It's like having a grocery store. You got to have groceries on your shelf, having good tunes, a social presence, and playing shows.
Other than the lineup, what do you think is the most crucial part to having a day go killer at the festival? When your hectic Saturday comes in and everything's going down, what's the best thing that can happen?
Weather. We need good weather.
Yeah?
Yeah, good weather. I'm very lucky to work with the people that I work with because everybody works together, and it seems like the farther along we go, just the easier that it's becoming for everybody. I think everybody pretty much knows what's expected of them, and if something's out of whack and the doors aren't opening, you got thousands of angry fans, and there's a lot of different aspects. Because you got fans, you got food vendors, bars. There's so many different things going on. So it's nice when the doors open and the people fill in and there's no issues. I don't know.
How hard is it to keep everybody pulling the same direction?
Well, we have a pretty good system going because in Florida we fire 2 stages, so it keeps the flow going back and forth all day because it goes 1 stage, 5 stage, main stage, 5 stage. We put all the vendors and food in the middle, so people are constantly all day long just going back and forth.
That's a good setup.
Flow.
That's a good setup. And the other ones they're single stages?
No, Vegas is 2 stages. The main stage is already in there, and then the vibe stage is you have to go around. It's kind of imagine a horseshoe, and the main stage is on the left side and the vibe stage on the right side. It's kind of like a U that also goes back and forth all day though. So they have visual artists, so you'll walk through. There's we put a bunch of walls that the artists paint before and during the festival. So there's a lot of visual art going on. We usually have killer food.
Yes, I can speak to that.
Yeah, Steve and Marley's chicken curry.
Yeah. If you're lucky, you get one of the Marley kids chefs to cook you chicken. When you're vegetarian, you eat it anyways. That's a different story. So when the weather cooperates and you get to go on the scissor lift and you see it all come together, that's how you know it all worked. That's the pride feeling. That's the payoff. Yep. That's where all that "I'll stay all night" becomes worth it. And if people don't know that, I guess it's your job to tell them this is how we get there.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it. These are huge productions. And we're constantly always trying to find a way to make it better and go bigger and go better.
So this might seem like a stupid question, but this just hit me. If the weather is the biggest thing that can break your way, which I totally see how that is, and I've experienced that having played shows where the weather was good and where the weather went to shit. If the weather goes to shit, is that the worst thing that can happen?
I don't think so. Definitely one of them. I think, for me as someone who listens to music, I'd say when I wasn't in the industry, I don't think I really noticed things as much. But now, good sound is pretty important.
Yeah, and that's changed a lot.
Because bad sound, I don't care how good your band is. If the sound's bad, then people are going to be like, "Oh, man, I saw them last night. They sucked." I'm like, yeah, but maybe it was the sound guy. I don't know. Maybe it was the system. So I think the production has a huge role in it.
True, and that gets overlooked if you're not conscious of it.
Yeah, because if you, let's say, you have 15,000 people at Vinoy Park, you want everybody to hear it all the way to the back.
Clearly. And at the same time.
And try not to kill everybody in the front, right. Deafen them. So.
Well, yeah, Reggae Rise Up has always had stellar production.
Yeah, there was it was like the first or second Vinoy year where the Dirty Heads were playing. I was just like, man, something is not right. And that was the last year I remember ever thinking that. It's been pretty.
I was going to say I wasn't there for that one. All the ones that I've
pretty
seen
on point since then. But that's a learning curve too,
Right.
But weather's usually the biggest factor. I mean, high wind and rain, it just can.
That doesn't go with reggae.
No.
There's no wind and rain in reggae. It's sun and fun.
Yeah, I'm all about some clouds, but it starts raining and the grass at Vinoy is all not really grass anymore. It's a bunch of dirt now, so
yeah.
It can turn into just a big mud pit.
Right. Yeah, but I've seen that too.
Yeah. And yeah, it's been a cool adventure so far. And I'm excited to see what the next 10 years will bring as far as reggae and our scene and the shows we're doing. We just dropped a bunch of shows. We're doing Spa Beach.
Where's that at?
It's in St. Pete. It's like at the base of the pier. If you're like walking up to the pier, there's the playground on the left. If you walk past the playground, like past that little net thing.
Oh, that's what they got. Like they put a new venue down there, right?
Yeah, so they want it to be like a premier new venue. So we booked. I have the ad for it. We just dropped it today. The first show's the Revivalists on November 4th. And then we have Quinn XC2. I don't know who that is. I think they're like EDM or something. And then Iration with Fortunate Youth.
Oh, that'll be cool.
On November 11th. Then we have the Hip Abduction with Pacifier on the 26th of November.
And they got like a website for the venue? We'll make sure we get the link in the description for that.
RiseUpSt.Pete.com is going to be where you can find tickets at. We got G-Eazy in December, Ludacris in December.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we got some cool shows coming. They're kind of bringing some more of, other scenes around, not just the reggae. So.
Yeah, well, the reggae fan base in the reggae world is really complementary to other scenes, especially hip-hop.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dude, the hip-hop groups in our scene have been killing it.
Yeah, I know they have a lot of fun doing the shows, too, from the bit.
Oh, yeah. You listen to Little Stranger at all?
I haven't.
2 dudes from Philly. Check them out. They're bad to the bone.
Very cool.
They're playing Janice next month, November. And then I told my boss to book Prof. I was like, you got to book this guy.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
So Prof, if you get on, I need a shout out.
Yeah, for real. All right, well, you've had a good long road. You got a good road behind you, an awesome, exciting road ahead of you. I'm going to get you out of here on a fun, easy one. If it was your festival, the Paul D. King Kicking of Ass Festival, and you had 3 days, who are your headliners?
Ooh, I don't know. Should it be Tool one day?
Yeah, no rules. It's the Paul D. King Festival.
We'll do Tool one day.
What day?
I don't know.
Come on, you're on the inside. You got to pick a day.
Oh man, Tool on Saturday.
All right.
We'll do Tool on Saturday. Let's do Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh.
On Sunday. And man,
who's bringing him in day one?
Who's coming day one? Oh man, Mac Miller day one.
All right, awesome. You made the fun question quick and easy.
Yeah, I can build a festival easy.
See? Well, that's why you're here.
Yep.
All righty, brother. I appreciate your time. We're gonna do this again, man. All right.
I really appreciate it.
Love you, brother.
Keep the hotel empty for me.
Yeah.